The 8 steps of problem solving. A simple approach to prioritize and solve problems among chaos. For nearly 100 years, this method combines the rigor of scientific thinking with human ingenuity in a way that is so effective that companies worldwide in every industry have adopted it. Step 1. The gap. The gap is the measurable difference between where you are and where you want to be. The first step is to clarify the gap. That is, where are you and where do you want to be? And to know where you are, your current state, you need to understand how you got there. Have you always been here? Why do you want to leave? Then you need to figure out where it is you want to go, your ideal state. What does that look like? Why do you want or need to get there? Imagine trying to plan a trip, but you don't know where you want to go. Pretty silly, right? What would that look like? Do you need to drive there? Or fly? Or can you just walk? Do you need to budget for gas? Are you going to rent a car or use public transportation? Are you going alone or with friends? How much should you pack? Without a destination and some context, these questions can't really be answered, can they? Some examples of gaps in everyday life could be saving up for that trip to Rome you've always wanted. Your current state would be your, modest bank balance. Ideal state would be the cost of the trip, plane tickets, souvenirs, and so on. Your gap would be the amount you need to save, the measurable difference between your current state and ideal state. Other examples of gaps could be wanting to lose some weight, maybe finish that associate's degree you started, or maybe you want to read more often. This first step is important because it adds context. A lot of current states by themselves aren't necessarily problems. For example, having $12 in your bank account is only a problem if you need $1,500 to go to Rome. Depending on context, $12 might not be a problem at all. From a business perspective, in order to put your problem into context, you would need to know what your business wants or needs, or what would commonly be called the business plan. Typically, these plans cover 4 major categories. Always at the top is safety, the ability of the business to keep its employees healthy and happy. The measurables for safety are TRIR, or accident rate, which is the number of accidents that have occurred over some period of time. Near misses, which is how often accidents almost happen. And risk assessment, which is the likelihood that an accident can happen. A close second is quality, having an unmatched ability to produce your goods without making mistakes. Measurables for quality include customer complaints, or mistakes that make it past all our guards and get to the customer that, at best, costs everyone time and money, and at worst could be dangerous. Defects or scrap, which are mistakes that were caught too late and result in lost materials and effort. And inspections and sorting, which is time and resources spent checking whether or not we did something right the first time. Third is the ability to deliver your product or service on time. After all, if there's no product, there's no money, and if there's no money, there's no business. Measurables for on-time delivery could be missed shipments. Trucks are usually on very tight timelines, so if you're not ready, they're not waiting, and the customer won't be the one paying for it. Equipment capacity, or your ability to produce what you need to in the time that you have to do it. And work delays, or processes having to wait on other processes to catch up, causing a supply chain traffic jam. Last but certainly not least is cost, the amount of money you put into the business before getting paid. At the end of the day, if you spend more money than you earn, you're going to go out of business. That being said, you're not looking to break even either. The less you spend, the more that goes into everyone's pockets. Although everything we just talked about costs extra, these are some of the other major costs of doing business. Excess labor and overtime, which is money spent hiring more hands than you need. or working the hands that you have beyond their capacity. Inventory and overhead, or costs associated with purchasing, moving, and storing materials needed to make your products or provide your services. And general wastefulness, or what is commonly referred to as the 8 wastes of doing business. We'll get into those another time, but for now we'll just say it's anything you're spending money on that doesn't add value. To summarize, the first step to solving a problem is to understand your problem in context, or to clarify the gap between where you are and where you should be. This is important because, as we demonstrated, just being somewhere isn't a problem by itself. It's only a problem relative to the goal. After all, if you're in a good place, why would you want to change? And if where you are is not so good, then that's important context too. Only when the context and goals are clear can a problem even exist, let alone be understood. And that's why we clarify the gap before doing anything else. And that's it for the first step of 8 steps problem solving. It may seem like a lot, but with a little bit of practice, it'll soon become second nature.